Hello, everybody. My name is Kinga, and I'm a product marketing intern here at Farmer's Edge. And this afternoon, I'm joined by Brandon Dirnberger, and he is a territory sales agronomist down in Missouri. Hi, Brandon. How's it going today?
Good, King. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about some data-driven yield predictions with Farmer's Edge.
Yeah, me too. I'll be honest. I'm be ready to get it over with. I'm having kind of technical issues. I'm just kidding.
Oh, there you go. No, it'll
Yeah.
be great. You'll do great. So just to kick us off a little bit. So I know you're in Missouri, but I know you cover like a huge area. So do you want to
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. So I live in Southeast Missouri. So I cover most of Missouri, the southern half of Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and anything else that kind of comes up in the Delta.
Yeah, it's a huge area. So lots of
Yeah.
corn, probably soybeans.
Yeah, rice, cotton, wheat.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Potatoes.
lots of crops for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
So I'm just wondering, like, in terms of when you talk about all those crops that you have down in the south, what kind of data are we using when we're talking about these yield prediction models?
Well, every crop's gonna be a little different the way we predict its yield, but it all starts with the fertility in the soil, the nutrients that particular crop's gonna need, weather, um, certain models, the rainfall models we use. Each one's different, but all in all, we can use the same data and just tweak it a little bit to make it work for each crop.
So in terms of the data, like you have, soil data, you have weather data. Um, in terms of customers signing on with Farmer's Edge and using our kind of models, what kind of data are our customers getting that you can't get anywhere else?
So it starts with our extensive soil sampling that we do. So each field that's in our system, um, for our yield prediction, if they're signed up for VR, we'll sample each field's each zone will be sampled separately, and I got a slide. I'll kind of show just what all nutrients we sample for, um, and then we have our satellite imagery. First, let me go back to the soil test. So our model will look at the nutrients that are from the sample, and it'll decide if there's enough there to meet a particular yield target. If not, that'll drop the model down, the prediction down. Um, and then if you also look at the next thing that we have that is kind of exclusive to us would be our satellite imagery, which ties in big time to our yield prediction. Our NDVI will be calculated based on once every couple days of the imagery going through, and that'll tie into historical imagery and the yield that imagery saw. And I'll kind of talk to that a little bit more. And then also we have a huge network of weather stations across the country, in particular in United States and Canada, and it uses that weather model data to use or track our rainfall. So we have preset numbers that is needed by each crop for each how many inches of water it'll need, and then the temperature, which drives our GDUs.
Yeah, because I think it's like when those heat units, those temperatures accumulate, that's gonna prompt the model to show us different growth stages, right?
Yeah, that's right. And then
That
the temperature during crucial growth stages is also a big factor in that.
totally, like when we have a lot of canola up in Canada here, and those growing degree days, especially during that flowering, can play a huge impact on heat blasts and how that affects yield.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially in our area now, we're in grain field in our corn, and it's been really hot, and our models have been adjusting daily to reflect that we've been hot and dry.
Yeah, not the best year for you guys down there, that's for sure.
And yeah, we're a couple rains away, or a good rain away from saving some crops, but
Hope so. We'll do the rain dance for you for sure.
yeah, okay.
So in terms of we have this data going into all of these models. Why, if I'm a farmer, why is this information useful to me?
Well, for one thing, it helps with some of your grain marketing decisions. if you know what your crop is going to yield, you know how many bushels you have to market. Um, Try to catch those markets when they're high. And book a safe number. Um, it also ties into your fertility, your fertility management decisions, especially some in season nitrogen. Maybe you applied enough nitrogen for 200 bushel corn, and now the model's saying we have enough nitrogen for 200 bushel corn, but we can make 230 based on all the other circumstances. You might apply more nitrogen, or on the flip side of that, you applied 180 bushels or 180 units worth of nitrogen, and you thought about side dressing, but we're hot and dry like we are now, and unless some things change, we're not going to get high yields, so we'll be okay not applying more nitrogen.
Yeah, definitely. So not just how much should I market now, but also those in season decisions, which can have a huge impact on your bottom line at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. So I know you talked about the imagery data, you talked about soil sampling data, as well as weather data, but we have some like really incredible models at Farmer's Edge right now. But where do you see this technology headed in, say, like the next 10 to 15 years?
I think at every year we verify our algorithms, or actually it verifies itself, and it's going to keep checking those numbers, and it'll decide on its own, and we can check it too, which data set is relevant, and we'll start to put more emphasis on that. And then also, I think satellite imagery is going to be huge. Moving in this NDVI. If I can show something here.
Oh, there we go.
So this is a current NDVI image of a field. This was taken just the other day, and the NDVI is measured from 0 to 1. And if you look from about June 17th until now, the NDVI has been 0.75 to about 0.8. That's pretty good. So what our model is going to do, so I went back and looked at, so this is that same field 2 years ago. And you look at the peak between June 6th and September 8th. Our model is going to look at those days, and when the NDVI say was above 0.75, it yielded this. It was above that for so many days. It'll compare that to today's imagery, and then you start to see some of those valleys where they go down. That's most likely where there wasn't any rainfall. And I actually went back and looked at some of our weather station data. So right here, you saw those peaks in the NDVI. That's where, can you see my mouse moving here?
No, we can't see your mouse, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look kind of in August, we didn't catch very many rains there, and that correlates to where those dips were in our NDVI.
Right.
So our model will factor in the when the NDVI plateaued, and then when it went down in those droughts, and it'll say, oh, this is similar to the last time this field had corn. Same, the fertility hasn't changed much, and it'll start to learn, and the verified yield that we entered for that year, it'll say, well, this is what it yielded. This is what it'll probably yield this year. So I think as we get more detailed satellite imagery and more frequency, and start to kind of understand everything they can do, that's kind of where it's headed with that.
So you're saying that there's a direct correlation between that weather station data and the temperatures and the rain and what we're seeing in terms of the NDVI, if I understand that.
Yep, that's right. And like I said, every year as we get more data, the algorithm becomes better, more efficient.
Yeah, and I know one of our models, we call it the machine learning model, and that's taking in all of that data and how do we make our models better with more and more data moving forward from these fields. So I think I think it's great that we're continuously improving all of our models for customers.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I was shown some of the back end stuff of it a couple weeks ago, and it was more than I could even comprehend.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we only have data for a certain amount of time. We can't go back and get 30 years of weather data, for example. But how would you, what are we going to do if we don't have a lot of the data? Like, what if the data is unknown, I guess?
There's so many factors that play into it. The model, whatever data the model doesn't have, it will make use out of the data that is there. So if we don't have any soil sample data, uh, it will use some of the Sergo data in the area to kind of give it just a ballpark of a baseline to go with. And then it'll also start to use the regional yield. If we don't have any historical yield data or soil sample results, it'll use the Sergo and then also regional yield data from USDA. And then it also will take in historical. So right now the rainfall will factor in what's predicted for the next week, 10 days, and it'll use historically what's happened during that time frame. So there's
Oh, wow, there you go.
multiple backups that we have here.
Yeah, lots of different data sources to pull from, and like you said, extrapolating the data a little bit, I'm sure helps.
Yeah, I'm trying to unshare my presentation here. I'm just clicking through. There we go.
There you go. There you are. No problem. Well, do you have anything else you want to share with us on yield models today, Brandon?
um, I think I covered most of it. Like I said, one thing I think I forgot to mention was if it is a grower that's signed up for VR services and we have their as applied data, whatever recs we sent out for the fertility, the model also take that into consideration for the yield prediction.
Oh, wow.
For example, if I told it there was no nitrogen applied, well, our yield model is going to top out at a very low yield.
Okay, so we think about what the customers applied and how that would affect the
Yeah, the
yield
timing of those
ultimately.
applications, and
Oh, that's super cool.
especially when we get down to our kind of our 4R considerations for that, it will factor in the dates and stuff and the source.
Absolutely. So, in terms of, like I said, we talked a little bit about crops at the start. So all the crops that you mentioned, so when you talk about corn, soybeans, cotton, are all of those going to have a yield model, or or are we constrained to maybe only a couple crops?
Right now there are several crops that we could do. I don't know what the number is, and I couldn't name off everything, but our big ones are there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know we have up here, we got ones for wheat and canola and peas and I think lentils too. So I know it's pretty comprehensive with the crops we have. So
Yeah, definitely.
awesome. Do you have lots of customers that like to use the yield predictions?
I think yes, it's sort of new, so they're learning about it. And we're kind of trying to get in the habit of showing the growers how to access that, why it's useful. So yeah, it's definitely something as we explain to growers, they really like it.
For
Um,
sure.
and then, but I look at it a lot and then determine what's going on, and then I'll give it a heads up to the grower to check it out, type thing.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a very valuable tool for sure. So
Yeah, definitely.
awesome. Do you have any other closing remarks or anything else?
No, I don't really.
Pretty good.
I'm not good at the
All right.
closing remarks on these things.
No, it's all good. Well, I really appreciate your time today, hopping on here and giving us a quick tutorial on yield models. And I'm sure that's something that a lot of our growers will look to be using as we approach, at least for us, approach harvest in the next few
Yeah,
weeks. So
yeah, it's definitely a topic that it's hard to talk about in a presentation because it's so detailed. But if any grower or anybody has any questions, it's easy to have a one-on-one conversation about and explain it a little bit better. Especially
definitely,
a demonstration for an on farm would be pretty useful.
absolutely Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Brandon. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Kinga.
Thanks.
Yeah.